There's filming gear that you know you want or need, and then there's the things that once you discover them, you wonder how you ever lived without them. And that's what's happened with this Accsoon SeeMo 4K. Why do I feel that way? Let me first explain the reason I got this thing in the first place. Over on my landscape photography YouTube channel, I like to make tutorials, and as part of that, I like to film the back of the camera, just so I can show people the settings I'm using and the composition that I'm setting up in terms of the photograph. It kind of moves around a lot. It's really hard to get the exposure right, especially if the sun is on that screen. And that's why I bought this thing, so I could effectively record what's happening on my mirrorless camera screen. All right, let me show you how this thing works. In the box, you've got the main unit, and this is the bit that does the translation from HDMI to USB. You've got a USB-C to USB-C cable, and if you're using an older iPhone, you've got a USB-C to Apple Lightning cable. You've also got a little Allen key for tightening things up, and this cold shoe mount. First, go and install the app on your phone, and it's a free application. You don't have to pay for it. Take the main part of the SeeMo. This part expands up and down to hold a phone. Slide it up and make sure it's secure. Make sure that the clamp is not pressing down on any of your phone's buttons. Next, we're going to attach the cold shoe mount to the camera. Lock that in place so it's secure, and then mount the main unit to it. You're also going to need an NPF style battery. This battery powers the SeeMo itself, and it does another really cool thing which we'll get to in a minute. Next, you need a HDMI cable to connect your camera to the SeeMo. This is not included in the box, so you'll need to get one of these yourself. And this is the input into the SeeMo. Connect the SeeMo 4K to your iPhone using one of these two cables. This is an older iPhone, so I have to use the USB-C to Lightning connector. One end goes in the video out socket on the SeeMo, and the other end goes into the iPhone. And then just power it on. Open the app on your phone and select the product. In this case, it's the SeeMo 4K. Tap start and then power on the camera. Depending on the camera you've got, you may need to change some settings to enable HDMI output from the camera to allow the SeeMo to access it. And now we've got the HDMI output from the camera being converted and fed into the iPhone. That means now we can record directly to the iPhone. Tap the record button, tap OK, and now we're recording straight to the iPhone. So I'm just going to swing this around so you can see the mess. You can see at the minute that that video is quite dark. We'll fix that in just a second. This particular version of the SeeMo allows you to use an output from your camera of 4K up to 30 frames a second. And in terms of feeding that signal into your iPhone, again, you can record up to 4K 30, and being able to record that HDMI signal right from the camera just using a smartphone with no expensive monitor equipment is really great. But here's the thing that made me think, how could I have lived without this thing for so long? As well as recording video to this thing, it also gives you access to loads of video monitoring and accessory tools that normally don't come with mirrorless cameras. And because most of us have phones, it makes perfect sense to be able to use the phone in conjunction with our cameras and really get access to all of these extra tools. It also means you don't have to carry around something extra, a video monitor specifically. That means we can transform the quality of our videos by having access to these video monitoring tools. And at the top of the screen, we've got loads of tools that we can make use of. So I'm going to tap this icon, and that's going to give us access to waveform. And if you haven't seen waveform before, it basically maps the brightness levels of your image across the frame. If I move my hand in front of this, you can see those brightness levels drop, and if I bring it away, they come back up. And waveform is one of those essential tools which for most mirrorless cameras doesn't even exist in the camera. If I go and increase the ISO in this camera, you can see that that waveform jumps up and the image gets brighter. Tap this and now we get zebra control. So if I change the exposure, it gets darker, and as I increase up, you can see we've got those zebras. I point it at that light. Now we can know that those areas of the image are overexposed. This button gives us access to false color. This is another exposure tool. You can see when things go red, that is really overexposed. And this is particularly useful when you've got people in the image because you can really quickly see if their skin is over or underexposed. So already those 3 exposure tools are super useful for making sure that you're getting your video looking the best it can in terms of exposure. Next up, another amazing tool to have access to in terms of getting your colors right in your image is this thing here. This is a vector scope, and it gives you an idea of where the colors are falling in your image. So if I move this around, you can see this desk is falling towards this area of the vector scope. If I grab something yellow, now the colors change. So this gives us a great indication of if our colors are aiming in the right direction. You can use this to gauge skin tones, and you can kind of use it to have a look at how the colors are mapping around your image and if you've got much color separation or color contrast. We've also got focus peaking. You can see those red lines focus all the way back here. Everything's out of focus, and as we bring things into focus, we get those focus peaking lines to help us nail focus every time, which is also a great way to transform the quality of your videos. This button gives you access to anamorphic de-squeeze, and you can tap on settings, choose the de-squeeze factor. I don't have an anamorphic lens fitted at the minute. You can also load up LUTs into this thing. You can import your own LUT, or you can use one of these built-in LUTs. Let's say, for example, I was recording in Sony S-Log3, I could tap that. And then that's going to give us an indication on the screen of what that real image would look like once it's converted to Rec 709. Another thing that's really important if you want to transform the quality of your videos is to get the framing right and the composition right. And that's where grid lines can really help. Scroll across here, tap on grid. We've got the traditional rule of thirds grid. If I tap on the little settings icon, I can change how thick those grid lines appear and what color they appear in. But there's loads more. Oh, by the way, I'll put a link to this specific model in this video's description. So as well as all of those other features, you can use this setup to simplify live streaming. If you don't want to connect your camera to a computer just to be able to live stream, you can use this thing to make that so much easier. If you want to share the video that you've recorded with your camera without having to use a computer, you can use this setup to do that more easily. You can see in the top here that this thing has an SD card reader. So if you want to get access to the files on that SD card, you can use this thing to get them onto your phone. This SD card slot though is not for recording video. And if you want an even bigger screen on the top of your camera, you can use an iPad, and to do that they also make a special iPad cage. And the great thing is, because we've got this battery on the back, it's even supplying power to this phone, which makes the whole setup usable for even longer. And that's not all. There's also an auxiliary USB-C out, which you could use to power other accessories on your setup. I'm more than happy to do a deep dive tutorial on this thing and really dig into some of its features and do a detailed setup or review. Let me know in the comments if that's something that would be useful to you. I'm Jason Roberts. Please subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye.